Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface with AZCHATS number 68. Bet you can't wait for the next one, can you? Giggity. AZCHATS videos, they're more podcasty type of a video as opposed to a visual video. Something for you to listen to and not necessarily watch. So if you do want to step away from the keyboard, crank me up in the background and get on with whatever you need to, you'll get just as much benefit than somebody who sat down rooted to the screen. And remember kids, sitting is the new smoking. Ugh. And because this is an AZCHATS, it may contain fruity language, i.e. language of an adult nature. So if that kind of stuff offends you, probably not the video for you. And very finally, because I have moved my orifice from upstairs to downstairs, yes, there is a slight echo. That's because I haven't got all the soundproofing sorted yet. So please bear with me for a couple of days, Mayor Cooper. Or just hashtag deal with it, whichever one you want. Now, the topic for today's discussion it's going to be the chat between Jesse Cox and Ian Hazacostas yesterday on Legion, which, let's face it, was really there to promote the launch of the beta and wasn't really there to socially interact with the community, because Blizzard don't like to do that anymore. They don't like coming out of the windmill with, oh god, you're going to stick your pitchfork in me and burn us to the ground. So really let's call this what it is, which was a promotional piece for the beta. Not wrong with that, you know. They've got a job to do. They've got an expansion that they need to flog. So they're just doing what they need to do. And of course, if you don't know, the beta starts tomorrow, the 12th, 2 p.m. Pacific time. Did a video on it yesterday. Go watch it. It'll give you all the gubbins that you need. Now, I'm not going to go into all the topics of conversation that were discussed. There's no need for me to go into things like dungeoneering and the Mythic Plus, because that'll come in a separate video when I start doing all my dungeon vids. So there's no need for me to discuss that. No need for me to discuss artifact weapons or demon hunters. They've been done before. What I want to talk about is the contents that Ian discussed about Legion, because he did stress that this is pretty much it when it comes to the content of 7.0, and apart from tweaks, change, bugs, fixes, and listening to feedback, which I'm seriously hoping wasn't just rhetoric and you really do listen to feedback here, guys, then this is pretty much going to be it for 7.0. So I want to talk about it from the point of view as somebody who's been playing it for the last 6 months or so. So obviously Ian's going to be giving his point of view, bigging it up. Big up oneself. He's going to be bigging it up because they want to promote Legion. But I want to see whether or not his descriptions of the contents marry together with somebody who's actually played it. And of course, I don't pull my punches. So I'm not going to be somebody that's going to give benefits of doubt and stuff. If something needs to be said, it's going to be said, folks. Because there are a few occasions where I just don't think what Ian says marries up with how it plays out in game. Okay? There's 3 major features, and thank you, MMO Champion, so much for bullet pointing a lot of things which he said, which just made my job really easy. And I didn't have to go through the video for a 3rd time, pulling out points which I wanted to chat about. So I'm going to go into the Order Hall aspect of it. I'm going to go into the World Quest side of matters, and I'm going to go into the legacy discussion, which wasn't a legacy discussion at all and immediately just deteriorated into a discussion about leveling. And, one thing was said, which probably won't please a lot of people, but we'll go into it when we go into it. So first up, Order Halls. Now, Ian discusses Order Halls and initially refutes any claims that it's Garrisons 2.0. I would agree with that. I would agree that Garrisons and exactly. The Order Halls are not Garrisons 2.0, but I would say that Garrison See, this was the problem, Ian. This was the problem making a fucking order hall. Everybody's just going to automatically refer to them as garrisons. It's just going to be the way it's going to be. Yeah, I don't think that order halls are garrisons 2.0, but I do think they're kind of garrisons 1.5. Oh dear, that was quite amusing. And he also talks about how this is a social space for all players to kind of like hang out with. Doesn't matter what your faction is, Horde or Alliance. If you're a Warlock, a Paladin, a Hunter, a Rogue, yada yada, you will see people from both factions milling around your order halls and not garrisons. He also talks about the research tree and how that shapes the direction that you want to take your order in. Sure. He then talks about the artifact area where you upgrade your artifact weapon and the mission table, which he really tries to play down as something which offers far less missions than Warlords of Draenor did, that has much fewer champions. Even though, Ian, you did neglect to mention that you get a fuck ton of troops to go with your champions, but that was quickly not discussed. And also that they have more impact and more relevance as opposed to the Warlords of Draenor one, where they have more relevance, and that's not necessarily a good thing. So I'll go into all that kind of gubbins. He also talks about how order halls are not really there for you to be stuck in. They're really there as a sort of like a facilitating device for you to pick up quests and get yourself back out into the world. And I absolutely agree that it does succeed in that manner. There's nothing really that makes you want to stay in your order hall. And I don't say that in a nasty way. I say that in a way of, when your business has been conducted, you get the fuck out. It's just get out. There's no point. If you're going to be running around, you're just going to be running around for the sake of running around. Everything that you need to do is most likely out there or waiting for Garrison Missions to finish. We'll go into that shortly. So, first of all, is it a social space? Well, I disagree. I really disagree. I haven't had any social interaction with anybody in my order hall. It's not made for social interaction. There's nothing in there which is attempting to facilitate social interaction. There's no content there which is trying to push people together to work together. If the order halls offered a class-based scenario for 4 players or so to go out and they had this instant mission to do, where Warlocks had to summon a huge demon in to help annihilate some Legion forces and bind it. It needed 4 Warlocks to bind it. But you could only have one Warlock channeling at one time, and then another, when they exhausted themselves, another Warlock had to take over while other Warlocks were fighting, and another Warlock was trying to enslave and send Legion troops back on themselves. That to me sounds like a pretty exciting scenario that would certainly make you feel I am Warlock, and would also make you socially interact with other players, because you'd be like, right, I've run out of channels, somebody needs to take over the summon, somebody has to stop fighting, take over the summon, and then the other person who's exhausted their summon goes off and does the fighting or the enslaving or whatever. Stuff like that sounds awesome, and it sounds very much class orientated and social. Nothing like that. Nothing like that in order halls. There are no missions which make you go out and get involved with other warlocks. There is nothing as a discussion piece in the order halls. Don't get me wrong, the order halls look great, but I feel unfortunately it's a kind of like something which we suffer from a lot recently in World of Warcraft. Style over substance. Look fantastic. Look amazing, but the substance of what there isn't pretty much, it's lacking. Because the research tree, the way that you shape the direction of your order, again, it's not there at all. It's like 12 choices. You've got 12 things to choose from, and you can choose one or the other. So there's like 6 sort of areas, and you choose A or B, and then you research them, and it costs order hall resources to do so. There's not really it doesn't give you any extra sense of warlock. It doesn't give you any extra sense of, oh, I have shaped my order to be this. It's a very basic kind of research mechanic, which to me just doesn't work. It really doesn't work. And really annoyingly, quite a bit of it tends to be tied towards the fucking command table, which I need to go into. Because as previously mentioned, Ian said you get much less champions. There you go. You see, they all just mixed together in one. You get far less champions than you did followers. Yeah, you can have 20 to 25 followers based off what buildings you had. You have 5 champions. So if you put it into those base terms, you think, oh, right, well, that's okay, because that means that's 5 times less. That's pretty good. Well, you also get 6 troops to go with your champions. So suddenly you've got from 5 to 11. So now you've got 11. So now you've got half of the followers, or over 55% or so of the followers, 60% or so. I don't know, my maths is all over the place. Of the followers that you have in Warlords. So suddenly it's getting up there. And the most annoying part is the mission command table is linked to your Order Hall campaign missions. I've done 6 missions so far in my campaign, and 2 out of those 6, that's the third of those missions, have made me go to the mission table and do multiple missions. And you don't have any social interaction with them. You just have to send your champions on their way, sit back and fucking wait. And they take about 19 or 20 hours to complete. So essentially it's a day to complete. You don't necessarily get a 100% chance of completing them if you don't have the right setup. So these get very annoying, very frustrating, especially if you're somebody who hated the fucking mission table like me. I fucking despise the mission table. So it certainly has more impact and more relevance because, yes, it's linked to your goddamn fucking narrative story. And I think that's going to piss quite a few people off. Certainly pissed me off. In actual fact, I stopped doing my missions because I just couldn't be fucked. I didn't want to divvy around with the Order Hall mission table. So I think the mission table is just fucking useless, crap, inane, bollocks. I've been through this multiple times. It doesn't serve any purpose in the World of Warcraft other than acting as a gate to stop fun. And it can just burn in hell. It really can. I've had my rant video about it, but it's been played down, and it does have quite an important role to play, especially in your endgame narrative, and that is fucking bollocks. If people want to do it, it should be a complete and utterly optional piece of content. Complete and utterly optional. If you do want an extra bit of gold, if you do want to grab a mission, but that's another thing. You also have to do the mission table to get your missions. Because you send followers out that's going to bring you a quest back. And that, again, is fucking bollocks. Why do I have to have a middleman bringing me quests? Stuff like that, to me, they need to be found more organically in-game. Or surprise me in-game. Oh, wait a minute, I've done a bit of archaeology and I've just found a quest to go into a dungeon and get a key item from this boss which has been holding on to it for centuries. And then you take it to Bran Bronzebeard and he rewards you thusly for doing so. Fucking hell, I'm sorry for doing better fucking ideas than you. So yeah, command table is utter wank. So all in all, the Order Halls to me, they became what I feared they'd become. Style over substance, look great, but what's there is not really... It is not really, anything of any depth or worth. In actual fact, there were kind of 2 groups of people in the Order Halls. From my perspective, there'd be a group of people surrounding the artifact weapon area, where you upgrade your artifact weapon, and there'd be a group of people around the command table. And that was pretty much it. So order halls played up. I just wish they'd get rid of that fucking table. Shit. World quests. Let's move on to them now. Now, unlike the order halls, I don't want to get too critical about world quests because I think this is an idea that's nearly there, but not quite. I did a video on the pros and cons of this relatively recently, so go check that out. I really get into the nooks and crannies of it. But I do think this is a very good idea. It sort of works on live at the moment, but there are some pretty obvious pitfalls with it. Now, whether or not those are going to be resolved, we're going to have to just wait and see as time goes on. And maybe the beta build has addressed them as well. So without being too cryptic now, I'll get into it. So Ian stresses that the world quest is somewhere that you can group together with players and go out there and quest together with players if you wish to. And the game will organically put you in a group of players if you go into an area which is a little bit tougher than normal, where there's a big bunch of elites that are pretty hard to kill. It will organically put you into a group. You can, obviously, if you're already in a group, it's not going to, or if you don't want to be in the group, you can leave if you wish. But I think it's fine to organically put you into a group, and then you can see on the mini-map where your other party members are, and go over and help them to complete the objective. So I think those kind of aspects are pretty good. Whether or not you choose to socially interact with those players is neither here nor there. The game is trying to give you an option to do so. So that is up to you. So you can't bitch and moan about not socially interacting with people if you yourself choose not to socially interact with them. You're in a party, you have party chat to them if you want. I wish Ian would stop fucking describing things using garrisons as an example. It's probably the worst example you can use. He says they're like Garrison Missions, but for you yourself. Now, I understand they are. I mean, he is correct. I mean, that's what they are. It's essentially a mission command table, but you're physically doing the missions which you're selecting, which is kind of what we said should have happened anyway when they did that in Warlords of Draenor. And of course, one of the things he said about the Garrison Missions were you could just do the mission table in Warlords of Draenor. You didn't have to go out into the world. But the problem was, Ian, even if you did go out into the world, there was nothing to fucking do anyway. So the mission command table was your all-encompassing thing, pretty much. But not derailing it, you will get rewarded various rewards. Now, the rewards at the moment aren't particularly exciting. They're very generic. Blue gear that ranges between X item level and Y item level. Fair enough, that's okay. But then it's kind of like standard stuff. Gold, artifact power items, which you can increase the power of your weapon. And then it sort of goes very generic, like pet battle stuff if you do a pet battle. There's nothing, I haven't seen anything yet anyway, that's kind of like, ooh, that's a little bit different. Or anything which could unlock, and this is what I stressed in my video, nothing that would kind of unlock a quest chain that could take you to other places. Things like that could be pretty exciting. So far the mission, the rewards are a bit dull. But I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to get too critical because that's something that could easily change. Or, put it this way, when the beta comes out and I get my character in beta to 110, maybe they have changed the reward system in the beta build. Maybe they have taken that feedback on board and adapted it. This is why I don't want to get too, I don't know, I keep having to harp on about this, but I think this is a piece of content that's so close to being there, that they just have to make a few adjustments here or there, and it's pretty much done. Now, one thing he says, though, is they've got a pool of hundreds of quests to pull upon here, and it really shouldn't feel as if you're doing the same missions over and over again, like in Miss Pandaria. Now, one thing I have experienced as a player on Alpha so far is there was a lot of repetition of missions. A lot. it kind of fell into the Mists of Pandaria trap. Remember when Blizz said in Mists of Pandaria, we've got about 250 daily quests, so it's never going to feel like you're doing the same dailies twice. That's what they said. That is a fact. That is what they said. But what they didn't take into consideration, which again is kind of like really dumb, is they segmented the areas for the daily quests, and then they only had a handful of quests for that area. So you'd have an area that you pick 3 daily quests up from, and they only had like a pool of 6 to choose from. So you always felt as if you're doing the same quests over and over and over again. With the Broken Isles, of course, it's segmented into different zones. And I fear that could be the same thing. So they could be like, well, there's 50 quests for that, there's 50 quests for that, there's 50 quests for that, and there's 50 quests for that. So really, if there's 12 quests available at any one time in a zone, and they've got a pool of 50 to choose from, then it is going to feel very quickly like you're doing quests over and over and over again. So they do have to be careful about that aspect of it. Maybe the alpha wasn't quite randomizing how it should have randomized, and that's why I was getting quests over and over again. Again, don't want to too much poo-poo this, because I think this is an idea which is nearly there. How many times have I said that now? 5, 6? I don't know. But I need to talk about Surma in a second. I want to gush about Surma. So from that aspect, I really hope... well, we're going to see. Put it so, we're going to see. But I did find rather a lot of repetition with quests. And the game shouldn't feel like a chore. I understand that. I was quite happy at the way that... at least if I went into Azuna and started to do some world quests, and if I started to get a little bit bored of Azuna, which is quite difficult to do because it's so fucking beautiful to look at, I could just get on a flying mount, well, flight path, folks, we can't fly yet. Flight path, and I could head over to Stormheim, or High Mountain, or Val'sharah, and I could crack on with some different missions. So if you are getting a little bit tired of one zone, you can just boom, get up, go. That is brilliant. That is awesome. And because of the world scaling, where everything now scales to your level, of course, every mob that you're fighting... I'm not going to say competitive, because let's face it, World of Warcraft is way too easy in outworld content. But at least you're fighting stuff of the same level, maybe a level or two above you, depending on which area you're in. So there should be some challenge. Let's just put it in those layperson terms. But I think where it does let itself down a little bit is the Emissaries. The Emissary stuff is really basic. Just having this slot at the bottom with a bunch of emissaries saying, do 4 quests for me and I'll give you a reward box. Now, I don't understand why they have those, just the people on the map. Just put an NPC in the fucking game, man. Do what you said you were going to do at BlizzCon. Put the emissaries in the order halls. And then you go to the emissary and he's got a quest. He's got a yellow quest marker above his head. And you speak to them and they say, right, fulfill 4 quests on the map of mine and I'll give you a chest. And you go, right, fine. And then if you look on your world map, it'll sort of like have a highlight of which are that emissary's quests. That, having interaction with an NPC pones looking at the bottom of a fucking screen for a picture of a portrait saying, do 4 quests for me and you'll get this reward. That's kind of a bit bollocksy. And he did overplay the lore around these quests. One thing that he said is, you know, you turn up to an area and it's got context in the game. Ian, come on. Let's call a spade here. You get a line of dialogue at the bottom of your screen saying, oh, the sea witch has come onto the shore, kill her. Otherwise, she'll amass some forces together. Now, some people might be happy with just that as a context for doing a quest. But one thing I did feel about the world quest is it felt completely disconnected from Legion. I didn't feel as if I was doing anything to aid the cause against the Burning Legion. So in that respect, I felt disjointed, and I don't think that narrative quite works. I would have liked to have seen something a little bit more intrinsically linked. And maybe this is where Order Halls, needs to step aside, and this is where, your Khadgas and such need to come in Dalaran, and maybe Dalaran needs to be made a little bit more important in some aspects as well. But again, it's an idea which I think is so close to being there, but isn't quite there. But this is sort of the first stab at it. So put it this way, the leap from Garrison Command missions to actually physically doing stuff is immense. So we've got to give them that. It's just, it's just kind of like, when you're so close and you're not quite there. I was going to use a horrific analogy, then I realised wouldn't be good for me. But then there's Surma. And Surma is just a top level zone that you can only start questing in when you are top level, and it's fucking the tits. Well, it's not fucking the tits. I mean, that was, wow, that escalated quickly. But no, it's so good. I absolutely adored my time in Surma. I've done a whole video where I literally just pull off, tit fucking and pulling off, where I pulled off from my live stream what I discussed about Surma and how it made me feel, and it's just a big gush video, and I was so happy to gush about the World of Warcraft for a change. But Surma made me feel like I was playing WoW again, and that kind of stuff is fucking priceless, absolutely priceless. So I think Surma is 10 out of 10, it's fucking 11 out of 10. It's how I wish leveling would just work nowadays, with no sort of physical bar being filled up or anything like that. Just like a progressionary system where you're going through various storylines, really feeling connected with the world, with the races that you're getting involved with the narrative. It's, I can't fucking wait to Surma again. I need Surma inside of me. So from a World Quest point of view, whereas the map system is nearly there, but not quite, and does have the problem of possibly getting very old very quick. If the fears that I have about the repetition and the rewards don't get fixed, people, why bother? Because the rewards just fucking boring same. Then it's going to be slightly problematic. But Surma, it's just a joy, just a fucking joy. And then if you complete all the story modes in Surma, then it opens up the world missions for that zone as well. So you actually get another zone full of world missions, which makes it 5, I think. 5. So, that's that done. Now, briefly, let's talk about... well, I was going to say, let's talk about legacy servers, which they suddenly just didn't discuss at all. So this is where the stream got a little bit weird and a little bit awkward really quickly. Because first of all, they started to joke about the fact that there's obviously been a huge hoo-ha about legacy servers. I mean, I've made my position perfectly clear. If you want to know what it is, watch my legacy videos. But I felt as if they were really kind of like being condescending towards the people involved and dismissive. In actual fact, I thought Ian was very dismissive about Nostalrius and the people who are going to turn up for a meeting there, because he seemed very quick to poo-poo Legacy, saying our stance hasn't changed. It's just what Joss said when he mentioned his pristine servers, and the people coming to Blizzard, they ain't going to be meeting with us. They're going to be meeting with other people, but not us. We're dealing with Legion. So that was kind of like, ooh. But it did feel very kind of like condescending to the people who really feel very strongly about this legacy business and crushing it almost immediately, because the pristine thing which Joss announced was just, garbage, really. It's not anywhere near pristine. It doesn't offer anything. Sorry, it's not anywhere near legacy. It doesn't offer anything that people are trying to get from legacy. I still feel as if Blizzard are just not getting it. They're not understanding what the people who are wanting the legacy servers, why they are wanting the legacy servers, and the reason behind why they're wanting legacy servers. I think Blizzard have got stuck in their heads for some weird reason. Oh, they just want leveling to be tougher. And that's it. And then we went into this really odd conversation about how leveling is too easy in the World of Warcraft right now. I'll kind of go a little bit one above that. Leveling's fucking irrelevant in the World of Warcraft night right now because of, A, the character boost, which you say fixed friends getting together. You know, we fixed friends having to level up to play with each other because we just have a character boost now by adding $10 and £10 onto the expansion price. But with them now coming with every expansion, they came with WoD, there's one coming with Legion, you know, sort of like leveling is really an irrelevant experience. And they were talking about, oh, we're making these tweaks and hotfixes to make leveling a little bit harder, not too much harder. You know, we're not talking about back to the old days, but we're talking about a little bit harder to make zones feel more relevant, and you shouldn't level a zone's storyline and blah, blah, blah. And I was just kind of thinking, you know, if people are going to go back and start leveling and then you're now making it tougher for them to level in the first place, but then, of course, you've got all the other aspects which you're not bringing into the equation, which is all the experience boosters and the heirlooms and stuff. So somebody who's trying to level up another character from scratch that is maybe a newish player that has one character boost is going to be like so far behind again. It's just like all kind of weird stuff. Why are you spending all this time on leveling? It's now irrelevant. You've got the character boost. It's got nothing to do with legacy servers. That's a completely different entity, which would be on a completely different server. And then he did mention a couple of the obviously the pitfalls of pristine servers, where people were just like, yeah, but you know, it's still not going to take long to level up, and then we'll just be sat in our garrisons. And I was sort of like, you're missing the point. They're not wanting the Cataclysm, post-Cataclysm world. They're wanting the pre-Cataclysm world for a start. And they're wanting all the kind of difficulties that went along with the pre-Cataclysm stuff. And all the challenges and all the social aspects that it brought with it. So again, I just feel as if they're completely missing the point with Legacy, and it did feel a little bit, I don't know if it's intentionally condescending or ignorant or what, but I was kind of shaking my head like, no, guys. But anyway, going to wrap this up now. Before I do, just one more piece of information that I want to go into. Demon Hunters, they're going to get 3 additional cutscenes to their starting zone, but they're not going to be released until Legion. So you're not going to be able to test it on the beta. I'm okay with that. I'm very excited about that, to be perfectly honest with you, because the Demon Hunter starting zone is amazing. I think Demon Hunters fit perfectly into the World of Warcraft. They've handled them very well indeed. The narrative that drove the story there was brilliant as well. I think they have a very unique role to play within the World of Warcraft, so that's a massive thumbs up for me there. So there we go. That is the kind of my response to the discussion video yesterday. Thought Ian dressed up a few things, a few things I agree with. But the good thing is, regardless of whether or not you agree with me or agree with Ian, if you get invited to beta, you're going to have the opportunity to make your own mind up. You're going to be able to see things for yourself, see whether you think they do fit in well with the expansion or whether or not they could do with some work. So your feedback is really, really important. So if you are invited to the beta and you do go in depth and you do test everything that you possibly can, or even if you just do certain aspects of it, if you do have some feedback to impart, please go to the forums and post it to Blizz, and let's hope that they view it. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links, they're in the description down below, and I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye.